Welcome to Listen and Learn English. Today, we bring you a powerful story. Don't give up. Have you ever felt like quitting? Like your effort doesn't matter? You are not alone. Everyone faces doubts, fears, and setbacks. In this story, you will follow Daniel, a young man who struggles, fails, and doubts himself, but learns the true power of persistence. Through his journey, you will see how small, consistent steps build courage, confidence, and real success. Not only will this story inspire you, but it will also help you practice your English listening, improve your vocabulary, and understand simple, clear expressions used every day. So, take a deep breath, relax, and let's discover together what it truly means to never give up. Chapter 1. A difficult beginning. The city wakes early every morning. The streets fill with noise before the sun rises high. Shops open, buses move slowly through traffic, and people walk quickly to work. Everyone seems busy. Everyone seems to know where they are going. Daniel watches this from the window of his small room. He wakes up at 6 every day. His room is simple. There is a small bed, a wooden table, and one chair. His clothes hang on a hook near the door. The paint on the wall is old, and the fan makes a quiet, tired sound. Still, this room is all he can afford. He washes his face, drinks a cup of tea, and prepares for another day. Daniel works at a small repair shop. He fixes broken phones and old radios. The work is not easy, and the pay is low. Some days, there are many customers. Other days, he waits for hours with nothing to do. When business is slow, he worries about money. Every month feels the same. He pays rent. He buys food. He saves a little, but something always happens. A broken shoe, a sick day, a sudden expense. His savings disappear again. He tells himself, "Next month will be better." But next month always looks the same. In the evening, he walks home slowly. He passes bright buildings and busy restaurants. Young people sit together and laugh. Some talk about new jobs. Some talk about travel. They look confident. They look happy. Daniel feels different from them. Many of his old classmates now have good jobs. Some work in offices. Some work abroad. When he sees their photos online, he feels a quiet pain inside his chest. They move forward, but he feels stuck in the same place. He tries not to compare himself to others, but it is difficult. At night, he often thinks about his past. He remembers the exams he failed. He remembers job interviews that did not go well. Sometimes he speaks too slowly. Sometimes he cannot find the right words. Sometimes he feels nervous, and his mind becomes empty. After each failure, he tells himself to try again. But every failure leaves a small mark inside him. Slowly, doubt grows. One night, after a long day at work, he sits alone in his room. The light is dim. The city noise enters through the window. He looks at his hands and sighs. "Maybe I am not good enough," he thinks. The thought stays with him. It returns again and again. When he wakes up, when he works, when he makes mistakes, the words become heavy. Still, life continues. Every morning he wakes up. Every day he goes to work. He fixes broken things for other people, but he does not know how to fix his own life. Sometimes customers thank him. Sometimes they smile and say he does good work. These moments are small, but they disappear quickly. Doubt always comes back. One afternoon, a young customer enters the shop. She brings an old phone that does not turn on. Daniel checks it carefully. He works slowly and patiently. After some time, the screen lights up again. The customer smiles widely. "You saved all my photos," she says. "Thank you. You are very skilled." Daniel feels surprised. No one calls him skilled very often. After she leaves, he sits quietly. Her words repeat in his mind. You are very skilled. For a moment, the heavy feeling inside him becomes lighter. That evening, while walking home, he notices something he usually ignores. A small bookstore stands at the corner of the street. The lights are warm inside. Through the window, he sees people reading quietly. He stops walking. He does not know why, but he stands there for a long time. He watches people turn pages slowly. They look calm. They look focused. They look like they are learning something new. Daniel remembers something his teacher once said. Learning changes your direction, even if the steps are small. He has not thought about learning in a long time. Life feels too busy, too tiring, but now the idea returns. Maybe change does not come suddenly. Maybe it starts with something small. He continues walking home, but his thoughts feel different tonight. The problems in his life are still there. His job is still difficult. His money is still not enough. Nothing changes immediately. But inside him, a small question appears. What if I try again? The thought is quiet, almost fragile. Still, it stays with him as he opens the door to his room. For the first time in many months, he does not feel completely stuck. Outside, the city continues its noise and movement. Inside, Daniel sits down and looks at tomorrow differently. It is only a small spark, but it is there. Chapter 2. The First Failure. A few days after passing the small bookstore, Daniel cannot forget the feeling he had that night. The idea of trying again stays in his mind. It feels uncomfortable, but also exciting. For a long time, he has only worked and worried. He has not tried to change anything. One evening after work, he stops at the bookstore again. This time, he goes inside. The air smells of paper and coffee. The place is quiet. People sit alone, reading or writing. No one looks rushed. Daniel feels nervous, as if he does not belong there. He walks slowly between the shelves, looking at the books without touching them. Finally, he finds a section for learning and self-improvement. Some books talk about skills, communication, and personal growth. He reads a few pages while standing. The words are simple, but they make him think. You improve by trying, not by waiting. The sentence stays with him. That night, Daniel makes a decision. He wants to improve his English. He believes better English may help him find a better job one day. More importantly, he wants to feel confident when speaking to people. He is tired of feeling small and unsure. He buys a second-hand English learning book. It is not expensive, but to him, it feels like an investment. From the next morning, his routine changes. He wakes up earlier. Before work, he reads for 30 minutes. After work, he listens to English audio on his phone. At first, it is difficult. The words are fast. He understands only small parts. Sometimes he feels frustrated. But he continues. Days turn into weeks. Daniel feels proud of his effort. He writes new words in a notebook. He practices speaking quietly in his room. Slowly, he believes he is improving. One day, he sees a job advertisement online. A larger electronics store is looking for an assistant technician. The salary is higher. The job requires basic English communication with customers. Daniel's heart beats faster. He hesitates at first. The old fear returns. What if I fail again? But then he remembers the sentence from the book. You improve by trying. He sends his application. A week later, he receives an email. He is invited for an interview. For several days, Daniel prepares seriously. He practices common interview questions. He memorizes answers. He stands in front of the mirror and repeats sentences again and again. He imagines success. He imagines a new beginning. On the day of the interview, he arrives early. The store is bright and modern. Other applicants sit nearby. They look confident and relaxed. Some speak English easily while waiting. Daniel feels his confidence slowly disappear. When his name is called, his hands feel cold. He enters the interview room and tries to smile. The manager asks simple questions at first. Daniel answers carefully. His voice shakes, but he continues. Then the manager asks a question in faster English. Daniel understands only half of it. His mind becomes empty. The sentences he practiced disappear. He searches for words, but nothing comes. Silence fills the room. The manager repeats the question, but Daniel feels more nervous. He makes mistakes. His grammar breaks. His voice becomes quiet. The interview ends quickly. When Daniel leaves the building, he already knows the result. 2 days later, the rejection email arrives. Thank you for your interest, but we have selected another candidate. Daniel reads the message again and again. His chest feels heavy. All his effort suddenly feels useless. He remembers the interview room, the silence, the feeling of not being good enough. This failure feels different because he truly tried. That evening, he walks home slowly, avoiding eye contact with people around him. Shame follows him like a shadow. He feels embarrassed, even though no one else knows what happened. In his room, his English book lies open on the table. He looks at it for a long time, then closes it. What is the point? He whispers to himself. The old thoughts return stronger than before. You tried. You failed again. Maybe this is your limit. For several days, he stops studying. He goes to work, comes home, and sleeps early. The small spark of hope begins to fade. It feels safer not to try. One night he sits quietly, thinking about quitting completely. Life was simpler before he tried to change. There was less disappointment. But deep inside, something feels wrong. He remembers how proud he felt when he first started learning again. He remembers understanding new words, even small ones. He remembers the customer who called him skilled. Slowly, he realizes something important. The failure did not happen because learning was useless. It happened because he was still learning. The interview showed him his weakness clearly. His listening was slow. His speaking lacked confidence. The experience was painful, but it also showed him what he needed to improve. For the first time, Daniel sees failure differently. It is not the end of the road. It is a sign showing where the road is difficult. The disappointment is still there. The shame does not disappear immediately. But the thought of quitting no longer feels right. He opens his English book again. This time, he does not study to prove he is good enough. He studies because he understands that improvement takes time. Failure, he realizes, is not proof that he cannot succeed. It is proof that he has started trying. Chapter 3. Advice from an unexpected person. Daniel returns to his old routine, but something feels different now. He still goes to work every day, fixes machines, and speaks politely to customers. On the outside, nothing has changed. Inside, however, he feels uncertain. He studies English again, but more slowly. The excitement he once felt is gone. Now he studies quietly, without hope or expectation. He tells himself he is only practicing, nothing more. One evening after work, heavy rain begins to fall. Daniel forgets his umbrella, so he waits at a small cafe near the bus stop. The cafe is warm and calm. Soft music plays in the background. Only a few people sit inside. Daniel orders tea and sits near the window. He opens his English notebook but does not read. Instead, he watches the rain run down the glass. At the next table, an older man sits alone with a book. He notices Daniel's open notebook and smiles kindly. "Studying after work?" the man asks. Daniel looks up, slightly surprised. "Yes, I try," he replies. The man nods. "That's good. Many people say they want to learn, but they don't try." Daniel gives a small smile but says nothing. After a moment, the man speaks again. "English is not easy. I know that feeling." Daniel looks at him with curiosity. "You learned English too?" The man laughs softly. "Oh yes, very late. I was almost 40 when I started." Daniel is surprised. The man speaks calmly and confidently. It is hard to imagine him struggling. "Were you good at it?" Daniel asks. "No," the man says honestly. "I was terrible." Daniel cannot help but smile a little. "I failed many times," the man continues. "I could not understand conversations. I forgot words. Sometimes people laughed at my mistakes." Daniel listens carefully. The words feel familiar. "So, how did you improve?" Daniel asks quietly. The man closes his book and thinks for a moment. "I stopped trying to be fast," he says. "I decided to be consistent instead." Daniel frowns slightly. "Consistent?" "Yes, small steps every day, not big changes, just small progress." Daniel looks down at his notebook. "I tried," he says, "but I failed an interview. I thought I was ready." The man nods slowly, as if he understands completely. "Failure feels heavy," he says, "especially when you try your best." Daniel exhales. "It made me feel stupid." The man shakes his head gently. "No. Failure shows you where you are, not who you are." Daniel repeats the sentence silently in his mind. The rain outside becomes stronger. The cafe feels quieter. The man continues. "Let me tell you a story. When I started learning English, I wanted quick results. I studied many hours in 1 week. Then I became tired and stopped for 2 weeks. I repeated this again and again." Daniel listens closely. "One day," the man says, "my teacher told me something simple. He said, 'You don't need to be better tomorrow. You only need to be a little better than yesterday.'" Daniel feels something shift inside him. "A little better," he repeats. "Yes," the man says with a smile. "Progress is slow, so slow that sometimes you cannot see it. But if you continue, one day you look back and realize you have traveled far." Daniel thinks about the interview again. The embarrassment still hurts, but now it feels different. Less like an ending, more like a moment in a longer journey. "I wanted to quit," Daniel admits. "That is normal," the man replies calmly. "Everyone wants to quit when progress feels invisible." He takes a sip of his coffee and adds, "The question is not, will you fail? You will. The real question is, will you continue after failure?" Daniel sits silently. The words are simple, but they feel true. After a while, he asks, "How long did it take you to feel confident?" The man laughs softly. "Longer than I wanted, shorter than I feared." Daniel laughs too, for the first time in many days. The rain begins to slow. People start leaving the cafe. The man stands and puts on his coat. "Remember," he says, "success is usually quiet. It comes from small things done many times." Daniel nods. "Thank you." As the man walks toward the door, he turns back once more. "Don't give up too early. You might be closer than you think." When the man leaves, Daniel stays seated for a while. He opens his notebook again. The words on the page look different now. Not like proof of failure, but proof of effort. For the first time since the interview, he feels calm. He understands that improvement does not happen in one moment. It happens slowly, almost invisibly. That night, when Daniel returns home, he studies again. Not with pressure, not with fear, but with patience. He reads one page carefully. He listens to one short audio lesson. He repeats sentences slowly. It does not feel dramatic. It feels small. But this time, Daniel understands something important. Small progress is still progress. And maybe, just maybe, quitting now would mean stopping right before things begin to change. Chapter 4. Small Steps Forward. The next morning, Daniel wakes earlier than usual. The sun has not yet risen, but he is already sitting at his small table with his English notebook open. The words he writes are slow and deliberate. Each sentence feels small, almost insignificant. But he continues. He remembers the advice from the man in the cafe. Small progress is still progress. He repeats it in his mind. A little better than yesterday. Those words become his guide. Daniel begins to create a simple routine. Every morning he writes 10 new words. Every evening he listens to a short English audio. After work, he repeats phrases quietly to himself while walking home. At first, it feels repetitive. At first, he struggles. Many words are forgotten, sentences are broken, pronunciation is rough. Yet, slowly, change begins. One day, he notices he can understand the audio a little better than the day before. He writes sentences more confidently. A word he mispronounced yesterday comes out correctly today. The improvements are small, almost invisible, but Daniel feels them. Sometimes he makes mistakes in front of people. At the repair shop, a customer asks a simple question in English. Daniel stumbles. He struggles to answer. For a moment, he feels the old panic rising. But now, instead of stopping, he smiles politely and tries again. The words are not perfect, but they come out. He practices patience with himself. He no longer expects perfection. He understands that talent alone is not enough. Consistency is what matters. Talent may make learning faster, but daily effort creates real change. Each week, Daniel sets a small goal. Learn 5 new words, speak 1 sentence correctly, listen to 1 story without stopping. Each goal is tiny, but each is achieved. Each success builds quietly inside him. Even when mistakes happen, Daniel does not give up. He reviews his errors and learns from them. One day, he repeats a phrase smoothly that he struggled with before. He feels a small thrill of pride. The spark inside him grows. His friends and co-workers notice changes too. His English is still not perfect, but he speaks with more confidence. People smile when he responds. He no longer hides or hesitates. The fear that once held him back is gradually replaced by effort. Effort is his new companion. Fear whispers, but effort answers back. Each day, small actions pile together like drops forming a river. Slowly, Daniel sees a path forward where before there was only confusion. The routine becomes natural. Early mornings, short study sessions, repeated phrases. Each day a small step, each step a little closer to his goal. The process is not glamorous. There is no sudden success. But Daniel understands now, this quiet, steady work is more powerful than bursts of motivation. By the end of the month, he feels different. Not perfect, not finished, but stronger. Able to face small challenges. Able to speak a few sentences with pride. He smiles more often. He laughs at small mistakes. He listens carefully, repeating, practicing, learning. The city outside moves at its usual chaotic pace. But Daniel's world feels calmer. He has discovered the rhythm of small steps forward. And even though the road ahead is long, he is no longer afraid to take it, one day at a time. Chapter 5. Doubt returns. Daniel feels proud of his progress. He wakes early, studies, practices English phrases, and even speaks to customers with growing confidence. Each day is a small victory. The spark he felt after meeting the man in the cafe now glows steadily inside him. Then one morning, he sees a notice on a local job website. A training program for electronics technicians is starting soon. The program promises intensive lessons, a certificate, and better pay. Daniel's heart races. This is an opportunity he has wanted for months. He feels excitement and fear at the same time. He applies immediately. A few days later, he receives an email confirming his acceptance. Daniel is thrilled. He tells himself this is a chance to prove his progress. He packs his bag with notebooks, pens, and a small English dictionary. He plans to give his best. The first day of the program is overwhelming. The classroom is full of students. Some are young, confident, and already skilled. Others speak English fluently. Daniel feels small among them. His words feel slow. His sentences sound awkward. During the first practical exercise, he struggles to assemble a circuit correctly. Other students complete the task quickly, asking questions and getting answers with ease. Daniel makes mistakes. One of the instructors gently corrects him, but the words sound sharp in his mind. Why am I so slow? He thinks. I will never catch up. At lunch, he sits alone. He watches others laugh, share ideas, and complete tasks effortlessly. Daniel's chest tightens. Comparison creeps in. He remembers his own slow learning, his failures, the interview that crushed him. The shame returns, heavier than before. For a moment, he considers quitting. The old fear whispers, maybe you are not good enough. Maybe you always fail. Maybe this is too late. His confidence wavers. He clenches his fists, fighting the urge to leave. That evening, he sits on his bed, notebooks unopened. He stares at the wall. The tiny spark of hope feels dim. Doubt is stronger now than he has felt in weeks. What is the point? He wonders. Others are better, faster, smarter. I will always be behind. The next day, the exercises are even harder. Daniel struggles with new machines and English instructions. He misreads labels, misconnects wires. Each error adds weight to the fear inside him. Why am I even trying? He asks silently. His classmates move forward quickly. He watches them and feels frustrated, angry at himself. The small progress he made seems invisible now. Even the praise from previous small victories fades under the pressure. He tries to speak English to ask for help, but stumbles over the words. He wants to explain, to ask questions, but his voice falters. The instructor helps, but Daniel feels embarrassed. The memory of the failed interview returns sharply. That night, he almost gives up completely. He considers quitting the program, returning to his old routine, and avoiding the challenge entirely. Fear and frustration press heavily on his chest. He feels trapped in a cycle he cannot escape. But even in this darkness, a quiet thought emerges. I have come this far. I cannot waste it now. He recalls the man in the cafe. Small progress is still progress. Daniel repeats the sentence quietly. It feels fragile but familiar. He remembers that learning is not linear. Growth does not move in a straight line. Sometimes steps are backward, sometimes sideways, sometimes fast, sometimes slow. The path is uneven. That is normal. Though doubt still lingers, he makes a decision. He will not quit tonight. He will rest, reflect, and try again tomorrow. The fear is strong, but the determination is stronger. Daniel understands that progress is not a smooth journey, but the journey itself is worth continuing. For the first time since the program began, he closes his eyes and breathes deeply. The mistakes, the slow progress, the comparison, he accepts them all as part of the process. Tomorrow, he will take one more step forward, one more small step, even if it is imperfect. Doubt has returned. It feels heavy, but Daniel knows it will pass again. He has learned that setbacks do not define him. Effort does. And the journey, no matter how difficult, is still his to continue. Chapter 6. The Turning Point. Daniel sits quietly in his small room one evening. The day's exercises are done, his notes are stacked neatly on the table, and the rain taps softly against the window. For the first time in weeks, he feels calm. The fear and frustration from earlier setbacks are still there, but they no longer control him. He looks back on the past months, the failed interview, the slow mornings, the repeated mistakes, the embarrassment in the classroom. Each moment had felt like a wall he could not climb, and yet somehow he is still here, still trying, still learning. He opens his notebook. He reads sentences he wrote months ago. They feel clumsy, awkward. Then he reads what he wrote yesterday. The words are smoother, the sentences make sense. He pronounces them more easily. The difference is small, almost invisible, but it exists. Daniel remembers the man in the cafe. Small progress is still progress. Those words echo in his mind. He realizes that every day he practiced, every small step, every effort, no matter how tiny, added up. Change had been happening quietly, silently, beneath his awareness. He recalls the mornings he woke early to study, the evenings he repeated phrases while walking home, the weekends he spent listening to English audio, even when tired. None of it felt dramatic at the time. Some days felt like no progress at all. But now, looking back, the growth is clear. The turning point comes when Daniel understands this. He is not the same person he was months ago. The old fear of speaking, the hesitation, the constant self-doubt, those feelings are weaker now. Confidence has begun to grow, even if subtly. He sees it in small actions, answering a customer question without freezing, remembering words he once forgot, correcting himself without panic. For the first time, he feels gratitude for his struggles. He sees that every failure, every moment of doubt, every small effort was necessary. They shaped him. They built strength he did not notice day by day. Daniel smiles quietly to himself. He realizes that success is not sudden. It does not come in one brilliant moment. It comes slowly, invisibly, through persistence and patience. Change does not need applause. It only needs time and effort. He recalls the days he wanted to quit, the nights he felt worthless, the moments he compared himself to others and felt smaller. Now he sees those moments as lessons. Each one taught him something about patience, resilience, and the value of effort. A clear thought forms: I will continue, no matter the result. Success is no longer a distant, terrifying goal. It is not the approval of others, nor the outcome of one interview, nor the speed of learning. Success is showing up, every day, consistently. Daniel closes his notebook. He breathes deeply. For the first time, he feels in control of his journey. He understands that progress does not always feel like progress, but it is happening. Every mistake, every repetition, every small step counts. That night, he sits by the window and looks at the stars. He feels calm, steady, and hopeful. The fear has not disappeared entirely, but it no longer rules him. He knows now that he is capable of continuing, no matter the obstacles, no matter the setbacks. Daniel whispers to himself, softly but firmly, "I am growing. I am learning. I will not give up." And with that thought, the turning point is complete. He is no longer defined by failures or doubts. He is defined by effort, patience, and the quiet, unstoppable momentum of small, consistent actions. Chapter 7. A New Opportunity. Weeks after Daniel's turning point, a new notice appears online. An electronics company is looking for junior technicians. The role is challenging, and English communication is required. Daniel feels his heart beat faster. This is different from before. He remembers his first failed interview, the embarrassment, the shame. But now, something is different inside him. He decides to apply, not because he is certain of success, but because he is ready to try. He carefully updates his CV, highlighting the experience he has gained. He writes a short cover letter, explaining his dedication and willingness to learn. The words feel honest, calm, and confident, even though he still feels a flutter of fear. A few days later, he receives an email, an invitation for an interview. Daniel reads it twice, then closes his laptop and sits quietly. For a moment, he feels nervous. The old panic begins to creep in. What if I fail again? He thinks. But he quickly reminds himself, focus on effort, not outcome. This time, the goal is not perfection. It is showing up fully prepared, doing his best, and trusting the process. In the days before the interview, Daniel follows his routine. Every morning, he reviews English phrases, practices common questions, and studies technical vocabulary. He repeats sentences aloud, imagining real conversations. Every evening, he listens to audio recordings, paying attention to pronunciation and meaning. The work is consistent, calm, and deliberate. Each small step reinforces his growing confidence. On the day of the interview, he arrives early. The office is bright and modern. Other candidates wait in the lobby, some chatting, some reviewing notes. Daniel feels a hint of nervousness, but it is different from before. It is not fear that freezes him. It is anticipation, a quiet energy that tells him he is ready. When his name is called, he stands and walks into the interview room. The manager greets him with a smile and asks the first question. Daniel answers slowly at first, then more clearly. His sentences are not perfect, but his tone is confident. He listens carefully and responds thoughtfully. Midway through the interview, the manager asks a technical question in English. Daniel pauses. He takes a deep breath. He recalls all the mornings, evenings, and small steps he has taken. Slowly, methodically, he begins to answer. Some words stumble, but he corrects himself calmly. He feels the old fear rising for a moment, but he does not let it take over. By the end of the interview, Daniel notices something remarkable. He feels satisfied, regardless of the outcome. He has shown effort, focus, and improvement. His confidence is not from a flawless performance. It is from knowing that he tried fully, consistently, and with patience. Days later, Daniel receives another email. He opens it slowly. "Congratulations. We would like to offer you the position of junior technician." He smiles, a deep, steady smile. The result is rewarding, but more importantly, he knows that his effort and consistency made this possible. He remembers the small steps, the failures, the doubts, and the turning point. Every challenge, every repetition, every moment of persistence led him here. Daniel packs his notebook and pens, closes the door to his old apartment, and steps out into the morning sun. He feels calm and strong. Fear may always appear, but it no longer controls him. Effort and consistency are his allies. He whispers quietly to himself, "This is only the beginning. I will continue. I will not give up." And for the first time, Daniel feels the full meaning of persistence. That consistent effort creates opportunities, opens doors, and shapes a stronger, more capable self. Chapter 8. Success is different than expected. Daniel walks into the electronics company on his first official day as a junior technician. The office is busy with people moving quickly, machines humming, and phones ringing. He feels a small surge of excitement, but also a familiar twinge of fear. The position is real now, and expectations are higher than ever. His first task is simple: check a faulty circuit board and identify the problem. Daniel begins carefully. He reviews the instructions in his notebook and proceeds step by step. His hands shake slightly, but he focuses on precision rather than speed. The task is completed correctly, though not as fast as some of his colleagues. Still, he feels a small wave of pride. Throughout the morning, he completes more tasks. Some are challenging, some are repetitive. Daniel notices that he still makes small mistakes. A connection is slightly misaligned. A label is misread. Normally, this would make him panic, but now he calmly reviews, corrects, and moves forward. He does not judge himself harshly. He knows that growth is more important than perfection. By midday, he observes his coworkers. Some are fast, some are confident, some smile and joke easily. Daniel compares himself briefly, feeling a flicker of doubt. Then he reminds himself of his journey, the mornings of practice, the mistakes, the repeated attempts, the interviews, the failures, and the small victories. He smiles softly. Real success is not being the fastest or the most perfect. It is the courage to continue and to improve. Daniel's supervisor approaches him. "You're doing well," she says. "I can see your focus and care. Keep it up." Daniel thanks her quietly. The words are simple, but they mean more than recognition. They mean that effort and consistency are noticed. Later, during a team project, Daniel is asked to assist with a presentation. His voice trembles slightly at first, but he speaks clearly. He explains his part, asks questions when needed, and listens attentively. Some sentences are broken, some words are mispronounced, but the message comes across. His colleagues nod in understanding. He feels a quiet satisfaction. After work, Daniel walks home. He reflects on the day. Nothing extraordinary happened. He was neither the fastest nor flawless, but he remembers the fear he felt months ago, the doubt that nearly made him quit, the small steps forward that once seemed insignificant. He realizes something important. He has changed. Real success, Daniel understands, is internal. It is the ability to face fear, to act despite doubt, and to continue learning. It is the courage to persist when the outcome is uncertain. External recognition is secondary. The first recognition must come from within. His friends and neighbors begin to notice subtle changes. Daniel speaks more confidently. He listens attentively. He approaches challenges calmly rather than rushing. Others comment on his patience and focus. He smiles quietly, understanding that real growth is not always visible at first glance, but it radiates through consistent effort. That night, Daniel writes in his notebook. He records small wins, tasks completed, phrases learned, challenges faced without fear. He writes not for praise or measurement, but for reflection. Each line is proof of persistence, of courage, of growth. For the first time, he feels that success is not a single achievement. It is a collection of moments, choosing effort over fear, persistence over doubt, and learning over perfection. It is quiet, internal, and powerful. Daniel looks at his reflection in the mirror. He sees someone who has changed. Not perfect, not extraordinary, but stronger, braver, and more capable than before. He whispers softly to himself, "This is real success." He closes his notebook and breathes deeply. The journey is far from over, but the foundation is solid. Fear may appear, mistakes will happen, and challenges will come. Yet Daniel knows now that success is defined not by outcome, but by courage, growth, and the choice to keep moving forward. He smiles, ready for tomorrow, understanding that his persistence has reshaped him. Success is not a moment. It is a way of being. Chapter 9. Helping Others. A few months after Daniel started working at the electronics company, he notices a new intern in the office. The young man, Alex, seems nervous and unsure. He fumbles with tools, hesitates when speaking, and avoids asking questions. Daniel sees the same fear in Alex's eyes that he once felt in himself. At first, Daniel watches quietly, remembering his own early days. He remembers the panic of his first interview, the embarrassment of mistakes, the heavy weight of doubt. He recalls how the small steps and consistent effort helped him grow. A thought comes to him. I can help someone now, just as someone helped me before. During lunch, Daniel approaches Alex gently. "Hey," he says, "do you want to go over the circuit boards together? It might help." Alex nods hesitantly, relief visible on his face. Daniel guides him step by step, explaining the tasks in simple, clear words. He encourages Alex to ask questions, to try again after mistakes, and to take his time. As they work side by side, Daniel shares his own story. He talks about the failures that once felt overwhelming, the mistakes that made him want to quit, and the doubts that clouded his confidence. Alex listens intently, eyes wide. Daniel's story is not dramatic. It is honest. The struggle, the effort, and the small victories make it real and relatable. "You know," Daniel says, "progress is not fast. Sometimes you feel like nothing is changing. But every day you try, every step forward, it adds up. It will work if you don't give up." Alex nods slowly, a small spark of hope appearing in his eyes. In the days that follow, Daniel continues to mentor Alex. He watches him practice early in the morning, take careful notes, and repeat exercises. Sometimes Alex makes mistakes. Sometimes he gets frustrated. Daniel stays patient, reminding him that growth is gradual and errors are part of learning. Through teaching, Daniel notices something surprising about himself. The lessons he shares reinforce his own understanding. He recalls his turning point, the small steps forward, and the meaning of success. Each time he encourages Alex, he also reminds himself of how far he has come. His growth feels stronger and more permanent. Alex begins to improve. He speaks more confidently in English, handles the tools with greater ease, and even asks Daniel questions that show critical thinking. Daniel smiles quietly. The same courage and persistence he once needed are now visible in someone else. One afternoon, Alex completes a circuit board without errors for the first time. He looks up at Daniel and beams. "I did it?" he says. Daniel nods, feeling proud. "Yes, you did. Remember, it's your effort and consistency that brought you here." Other colleagues notice Daniel's patience and guidance. They see his confidence, calmness, and ability to teach. He has become a mentor figure, quietly respected and valued. Yet Daniel feels the real reward is internal. He knows that helping Alex succeed is a reflection of his own growth and perseverance. Daniel reflects on the journey that brought him here. The failures, doubts, early mornings, and small steps all led him to this moment where he can pass on what he learned. Sharing experience, encouragement, and guidance feels like completing a circle. He understands that personal growth is amplified when it is shared with others. He watches Alex leave the office with a confident smile. Daniel whispers softly, "This is why persistence matters. Not only for me, but for those who will follow." Helping others teaches Daniel that consistency, courage, and growth are not only personal victories, they are gifts to share. The journey that began with fear and doubt now continues through mentorship, reinforcing the lessons that turned struggle into strength. Daniel closes the day with a quiet sense of fulfillment. He feels complete, not because he achieved perfection, but because he has transformed and can now inspire transformation in others. Success, he realizes, is multiplied when shared. Chapter 10. Don't Give Up. Final Reflection. Daniel sits quietly in his small apartment, the evening light spilling softly across the table. He opens his notebook and reads the first pages he ever wrote when he began this journey. The words feel awkward, clumsy, and uncertain. At the time, he barely believed in himself. Now, he smiles at how far he has come. He remembers the difficult beginnings, waking up early, struggling with English phrases, failing tests, and making mistakes that felt embarrassing. Every setback had felt like a wall he could not climb. The fear of failure, the doubt, the endless comparison to others, it all weighed heavily on him. He recalls moments when quitting seemed easier, when giving up whispered louder than hope. Then he remembers the turning points, the conversations with strangers and mentors, the quiet realization that small daily effort matters, and the first successes that came slowly but surely. Each small victory built a foundation, even when he did not notice it. He sees now that change did not happen all at once. It was invisible, gradual, and cumulative. Daniel thinks of the new opportunities he embraced, the interview, the job, the training programs. Fear was still present, but his confidence had grown. He focused on effort, not outcome. Each challenge was a chance to prove to himself that persistence matters more than perfection. Every small step forward became proof of courage, patience, and resilience. He recalls Alex, the young intern he now mentors. Watching Alex struggle and then succeed reminds Daniel that growth is not just personal, it is shared. Teaching reinforces his own progress. He realizes that helping others continue, even when they feel uncertain, is a reward that multiplies the value of his journey. Daniel reflects on the real meaning of success. It is not perfection, awards, or recognition. Success is internal first. It is courage to try despite fear, effort in spite of doubt, and commitment even when results are slow. Real achievement is the identity he built, someone who shows up, learns, adapts, and continues. The memories of past failures now feel like stepping stones rather than weights. The embarrassment, the frustration, the repeated mistakes, they were necessary. Each one shaped him. Each one strengthened him. He smiles, recognizing that persistence built more than skills. It built his character. He closes his notebook and looks at his reflection in the mirror. The person staring back is not flawless. Mistakes will still happen. Challenges will still arise. But this person is steady, confident, and willing. This person does not quit. Daniel whispers quietly but firmly, "I will keep going. I will not give up. I will face fear, make mistakes, and try again. He feels calm and strong. His journey has taught him that identity is formed in persistence, not by isolated successes. He sits back and breathes deeply, thinking about the days ahead. Life will continue to challenge him, but he now knows the truth. Change comes from continuing. Effort over time transforms fear into courage, mistakes into learning, and uncertainty into confidence. For the first time, he fully understands that every struggle, every failure, every small, repeated action contributed to who he is today. Daniel smiles softly, knowing that the journey itself is the reward. He looks at the horizon outside his window. The night is calm, quiet, and filled with possibility. This is only the beginning, he thinks. I will keep moving forward. I will not give up. And in that quiet resolve, Daniel feels unstoppable. Persistence has become more than a habit. It has become who he is. The journey, the effort, and the courage to continue have created a person capable of facing any challenge. Every word he spoke, every small task he completed, every time he chose to try again has led to this moment. And Daniel knows, deep in his heart, that as long as he continues, there are no limits to what he can become. Don't give up. He repeats the words softly, a mantra for life. Change comes slowly, invisibly, and often unnoticed. But if you keep moving, keep trying, and keep believing, you will transform. Not just your skills, not just your results, but yourself. And with that, Daniel smiles, calm, steady, and ready for the next step in his life, knowing that persistence builds identity, and identity shapes the future. Thank you for listening to Don't Give Up on Listen and Learn English. Daniel's journey shows us that success is not instant, and progress is not always visible, but persistence shapes who we are. Remember, every small step, every effort, and every moment you choose to continue builds strength and courage inside you. If this story inspired you, make sure to like, subscribe, and click the bell so you won't miss more stories that help you grow your English and your mindset. Comment below. What small step will you take today to keep moving forward? Keep listening, keep learning, and never give up. Your journey is just beginning.